Am I the only one in the world that's wondering if Charlamagne has gone to the right? Is he right-wing now? Or is he just chasing the right-wing money? We got to talk about him and his DEI comment. My name's Tim Black, and this is Calling It Out. Come on, man. So anyway, Charlamagne was on Comedy Central filling in for Jon Stewart because Current Top wasn't available. So they had to do somebody. Gerard Carmichael wasn't available, so they got Charlamagne. Okay, so Charlamagne did it, and he stepped into it with the DEI comments.
Charlamagne Tha God had some unkind words for DEI while he was guest hosting The Daily Show. Let's watch this clip.
Every one of you has sat through one of those diversity training sessions and thought, this is some bullshit. And it's not just you. Over 900 studies have shown that DEI programs don't make the workplace better for minorities. In fact, it can actually make things worse because of the backlash effect. Okay. They're blaming DEI for everything, even that bridge in Baltimore. They called Baltimore's mayor the DEI mayor, like he was given the job for being black. Then they said the shipping company was too focused on DEI instead of safety. But almost the entire leadership of the company is white. No black people, right? If anything, the Baltimore mayor, he should have been the one to make it racist. Just come out like, these crackers knocked down my bridge, okay? All right? And one of y'all crackers better pay for it, okay?
All right, I'm torn on this one. Hold that. So that's what was said. Now, we know Charlamagne got a bunch of writers. You go to Comedy Central, you don't write your own stuff. You got writers. I got people that helped him out. So I don't know if he wrote that. But, okay.
Well, at what point is the boat piloted by non-black people running into a bridge
piloted
have
by
to do
non-black people? I don't think it has anything to do with anything.
Well, so how is that DEI?
Who was saying that? Who was saying that it was DEI?
It was a
piloted?
viral Twitter phenomenon, that a video of Baltimore's mayor talking about the bridge falling and the fact of the bridge falling itself was characterized as a DEI problem.
Yeah, and people, including Christopher Rufo and Christina Pushaw, said you should not refer to the mayor as a DEI mayor. It's an elected position. He's literally chosen by the people. You can have other criticisms of the mayor if they're deserved, but it's not a DEI thing. Well, maybe you were out that day. Jessica and I discussed that on the show. I said that. In terms of the pilots, I mean, yeah, no, obviously it would be racist to say that like black pilots fly the planes or ships or whatever the.
So part of the problem we have is we got people that are afraid to say the truth because, as always, even guys like Robbie, who are well paid, well compensated, are scared to go against Elon Musk. It also could be that Robbie's just not that fond of the blacks. But Elon Musk put out a tweet where he had a picture of a black pilot. He was like, would you be afraid to let him fly you? Because of DEI. You know, because they just hire pilots that don't know how to fly because they're black. And they just go down to the liquor store, the local liquor store, down to the gym and just find a black guy anywhere. Just go down to Walmart and see a guy working the shelves or go back in the stock room and see somebody putting away merchandise and just be like, hey, black guy, you want to fly a plane? Because to them, and to Elon Musk, black people can't be qualified. See what I'm saying? So Robbie's kind of trying to defend it because he's a libertarian type guy. I don't know. Nah, it's because who he is. Maybe it has nothing to do with his ideology, but that's the kind of guy he is. He wants to defend, defend BS, defend racism, defend bigotry. And it's a lot of them who won't admit, well, Elon Musk is probably just, why else would you put that tweet up? Why would you say that if you see a random black person in any position, whether it's flying a plane, having a medical life, being a doctor, being your Uber driver, whatever, in any capacity, you can say, oh, well, how do I know he's qualified? It's probably DEI is the reason why this black person has a position. So that's the setup for all of this with this particular clip. Brianna's going to make a comeback to this, so let's listen to a little bit more of that.
vehicle is less well than anyone else. I think the criticism they're trying to make is that we shouldn't select pilots or basically people for any other profession or be more likely to hire them based on their race, right? Isn't that an uncontroversial
Right, so the
statement?
question is, if these programs are designed to try to
Get people hired because of their race?
No, to prevent people from not being hired because of their race, because that's
Great.
where we're coming from.
That's what we all believe. You should not be hired because of your
program
race.
do you think, but people are discriminated against on the basis of their race. So what programs do you advocate?
They're discriminated in favor of because
No,
of their
they're
race.
discriminated against because of their race.
When they
See, this is a problem. It's hard to have a conversation or have a debate with someone if they don't want to accept reality. I dealt with this all the time, talking to these type of people, like Robbie. And he's not the only one. Sagar from The Rising, not The Rising, what's Sagar? Sagar's Breaking Points. If you're a black person, you probably don't know who the hell I'm talking about. There's some other commentators. This was a brown guy who sounds a lot like Robbie, because that's how they sound. And he has the same opinion. They don't want to admit that race is a factor in anything in life, because they're not black, so they don't have to deal with it, so it doesn't exist for them. He's saying, if we say, hey, we got 20 white guys, we should hire a black guy. He says that's racism. He doesn't consider the 20 white guys as being racist, like maybe they only hired them because they were white. That can't be happening. That's impossible in Robbie's mind, and in Sagar's mind, and a lot of other people's minds. They can't believe. To them, because they're white supremacists. It's really what it is. They think white is supreme. They think white has supremacy. That's what it means. In their minds, all white people are more qualified. Doesn't matter if they are or not. They just are. So if you say, hey, we have no black people, why don't you? He doesn't think it's possible that could be racism. But he definitely is against you saying, hey, we should have some black people too. Why should we have black people? See, we're going to be 21 people. Now there's 20 white guys. Now you're going to hire a black person. You're only doing it because of race. Is it possible you only have 20 white guys because of race? That's not racism. That's just good selection criteria. That's how they really think. That's how they really think. And once you realize that's really how they think. So now it's reverse racism. Black people have been dealing with racism for 300 years in America. And it only becomes an issue when white guys somehow now believe that they're being discriminated against. And discriminated against to let us have a shot. It's crazy. What's super crazy about it is, it's like there are a lot of white guys running a lot of things in America that aren't going so well. You know, like Alabama. Name a red state, just throw a rock and hit something at it. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying it ain't going that well. You know, Arkansas, I can think of a couple places. You know? Some would say Los Angeles, but hey, you didn't hear from me. No, but what I'm saying is, what's crazy about it is they are delusional. Robbie is delusional. He doesn't believe it's racist until you say, hey, we got 50 white women. Can we get a sister? Oh, it's racist. You want to get a black woman in here. Why can't you just get another qualified white person? What makes you think the black person we're going to hire couldn't be qualified?
Spanish, right? Something like that. At what point is the boat piloted by non-black people running into a bridge?
Piloted by non-black people? I don't think it has anything to do with
Right, so the question is, if these programs are designed to try to
get people hired because of their race?
No, to prevent people from not being hired because of their race, because that's where we're coming from.
That's what we all believe. You should not be hired because of your race. What program
do you think? But people are discriminated against on the basis of their race. So what programs do you advocate?
They're discriminated in favor of because of their race.
They're discriminated against because of their race.
And
that's why DEI programs exist in the first place. So what kind of programs do you think should be implemented to prevent people from being discriminated against because of their race or other kinds of protected
I think we
status?
should eliminate affirmative action programs that give people preferential treatment in terms of hiring and college admissions based on race. That is discrimination against people of the race not being preferred in the application, and should be eliminated and is being eliminated by court order in many schools. And like 70% of Americans agree, including Democrats, that
so there's many examples of this. Here's one study that just came up from Bowdoin College. Employers discriminate against job applicants with black-sounding names. The study indicates
they shouldn't do
it was published last year. In this study, this professor found that employers are less likely to call black job applicants with black-sounding names when presented with identical resumes. What kind of policy should be implemented? That's real
already
discrimination.
Illegal to do that.
Right, but that's not a policy that's implemented to actually prevent this from happening, because obviously if I apply for a job, there's no way for me to know that the reason I didn't get it is because I have a black-sounding name.
Yeah, that should be illegal, and it is. So,
right.
Listening to Robbie give Bree such a hard time reminds me of a quote that Dr. Cornell West shared with me while he was on my show. It's by a man by the name of Upton Sinclair.
It is difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on his not understanding it.
Salary depends on him not understanding. Yeah. So that's sort of how Robbie is. DEI is garbage is something Charlamagne said. So that's what their segment was about, Charlamagne making that statement. DEI is garbage in certain ways. And if it's not garbage, it's right next to garbage. Like you got a chair and it's like, it's still a chair and you can sit in it, but you really need a new chair. That's DEI, okay? Let me run a couple things to you. First, let me give you some stats, give you some real stuff, and then we'll do an anecdotal. I got a personal story as well. Fostering inclusion and belonging in 2021. 66% of global full-time employees admitted that fostering inclusion, DEI, and a sense of belonging was the most valuable outcome of DEI programs at the workplace. Fair compensation. According to another effective DEI programs mentioned by 65% of the survey respondents, was that they contributed to fair compensation at work. Okay? So these programs actually help people make more money. Not more money than the white folks, but to get closer to be fairly compensated. Robbie doesn't care because Robbie's not underpaid. Nor does he fear he'll be underpaid. Saga doesn't care because he's close enough to white that it doesn't matter. But if you are a black person, it's always in the back of your head, I wonder if I'm getting paid the same thing. Something Robbie never has to wonder. And if he wonders it, he doesn't wonder it based on race. It's really nice when you don't have to worry about something, because you ain't got to worry about it. Identifying unconscious bias. In 2021, 34% of full-time employees admitted that DEI programs help workers to identify unconscious bias and learn about systemic barriers. That's something that Brianna brought up that I think is important. There are all types of studies out there, guys. They're everywhere. They've been doing these studies it's like common knowledge. Whether people intend to do it or not, they see black sounding names, they put your resume on the bottom of the pile. Sometimes they do it based on your zip code, because they know black people live there. Once again, not a problem Sagar and Jetty has to worry about, not a problem Robbie, whatever his name is, has to really worry about. But if your name is Tyrone, my mom named me Timothy for a reason. Your name is Daquan. Your name is Shaniqua. You might be a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? Just to make people stop for a second and consider maybe they need to check themselves. Maybe they need to evaluate their decisions and look at it differently. That's worth a lot. Most people never have to do that. So DEI does have its place. It has its role if it helps at all. If it helps at all. Quick story. Back when I worked for the phone company, this was like 25 years ago, whatever. I had a manager named Larry. And Larry was a shit-kicking type of white guy who wore a cowboy hat whenever he come in on the weekends. Sometimes we work weekends doing stuff. I was in IT. There was a white guy that worked with us named Dan, and it was another, I was like one of the only black guys in the IT department for this particular division at this location. And if I was 5 minutes late, Larry would give me crap about it. But there was a white guy named Dan who was 25, 30 minutes late. And they would be yucking it up, talking and laughing. I noticed this. I put it in the back of my mind. I said, that's discrimination. That's what that is. So then we had our DEI training. And I don't know if they called it DEI at the time. I think it was just diversity training. But it wasn't that. The DEI, the acronym was not being used at the time. This was before that was common practice. But it was some type of equal something, fair employment type training that we had. It just so happens we all watched these videos, took these little tests. You had to do it. It was company-wide. And it was some parts of it were about discrimination and how managers sometimes have biases, sometimes unconscious bias, and they treat white workers different from black workers. So I came in one day after the training, and lo and behold, I was 5 minutes late. Larry was sitting in my seat when I came in. He was literally sitting in my chair. I'll see you later again, Tim. I was like, yeah. I said, yeah. Traffic was crap. My bad. Whatever I said. And, hey, I said, he's like, don't let it happen again. I need you to be here on time. It's like, all right. So I'm doing my job, and about 15 minutes later, Dan walks in. He didn't say anything to Dan. Hey, Dan, how you doing? And what about his day? So I went in the server room. He was in the server room. Later on that day, I said, you know what? I'm going to address this. I went in the server room, and I said, hey, Larry, can I talk to you for a second? He's like, what's going on, Tim? I said, yeah. I said, Larry, I don't know if you were here for this, but we had the diversity training. You know what I learned in that training, Larry? He's like, what'd you learn, Tim? I said, we watched these videos, and we did these surveys and these exercises as a group. And there was a scenario that was just like the scenario that we have. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, in the video that we saw, there was a white manager who treated the black employee much harsher than his white employees. He's like, really? I said, yeah. It was really disgusting what he was doing. It was like he was showing favoritism to the white guy, but treating the black guy really bad, Larry. Now, look. Hey, you're a good guy, Larry. I know you are, but you should be really careful because they gave me like a number. Like there's people can contact them and report you, and you'd have to go through all types of shit, because you, Larry, seemed a lot like the guy I saw in the film. And it would be really a shame if you had to, get written up or lose your job for discriminating against me. He turned beet red. He turned beet red. He said, yeah, I guess that would be a shame. I said, I think it would, man. I said, I hope it doesn't come to that. Now, I was a young guy, man. I was like just over 20, 23, 24. But I think I handled it well. I left the server room. We didn't discuss it again. I didn't contact anybody. But guess what happened? Larry stopped riding my ass. He started lightening up. Larry and I became cool. I wouldn't say we were friends, But we got along a lot better after that. No one got reported. But it was, part of it was due to me having the information that I had and let him know I had it. And then letting him be aware of it. Now, you can say, hey, maybe Larry went home and thought about the interaction. Maybe he talked about it with his wife, because his wife was a nice lady. She'd come up to the office. And maybe he had a light bulb moment. I don't know. Maybe that happened. You can think that if you want to. You can imagine you can fantasize or whatever conclusion you want to draw. If you want to be positive-minded about it, you can say, maybe I helped Larry. Maybe Larry, he realized he had an unconscious bias. Maybe he didn't even know realized he was doing it. Maybe he'd worked with Dan for so long, it wasn't because of color, maybe it was because of something else. But I can say, I know DEI is not great. It ain't gonna solve all problems, but I'm telling you, in my personal experience, maybe Charlamagne hasn't had this personal experience. Maybe he hasn't worked in corporate America. Maybe he works at the Breakfast Club and other black radio stations where his race ain't an issue. But when I was in IT and I was in 90% to 95, sometimes 98% white in non-black environments, I had to deal with certain shit that Charlamagne doesn't get to deal with. And all I know is in my particular situation, when I needed to, when I had a young family, it really helped that I had that training on my side, that I had a number to call, and that I was able to back Larry off my ass. So excuse me, Charlamagne. I know you got great writers at Comedy Central, and I know it's good to lean into the Trump era, and it's like really like the DeSantis shit. I know, look guys, we're in media business. We're in the media business, all of us. Me too, okay? All of us. Stephen A. Smith, Charles Barkley, Tim Black, D.L. Hughley, Joy Reid, Amanda Seals, all of us, Tiffany Cross, all of us, whoever they are, all of us who make content. Brianna Joy, The Hill, all of us. And we're all subjected to the same thing with the market, okay? And the market is really soft right now for Trump-type shit. They are everywhere, that's what they want to hear. Here's the truth, though. Everything ain't cut and dry, and everything ain't about Democrats and Republicans, and everything is not about how much viewership you can get. Sometimes you put shit out there and you don't want to keep it 100 because you want to attract a certain type of viewer, or because the demographics tell you, the numbers tell you. Right now, the numbers say, don't tell that story I just told you. Because the world is leaning Trump. The world is leaning against wokeism. The world is leaning against DEI. So the numbers would tell you that it's a bad marketing plan for me to tell you that story, for me to disagree with Charlamagne, for me to come out on this. But my life experience, what I know, right? What I fucking know. Not what I think, what I heard, what works with the numbers. This is how I do my shows. I don't blow smoke up your ass because I think it's going to get me more subscribers. If Charlamagne hasn't had experiences, he doesn't know, he hasn't lived it, he probably shouldn't be talking about it. But it may have saved my job. But if you work in all black environments for hip-hop radio and don't deal with the type of environments that I had to deal with, maybe you've never been exposed to it. Now, on the other side of this, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. DEI is not great. Guys, it's just not. The first warning sign when we were DEI has nothing to do with what Charlamagne was talking about, how some black people don't want to go through the training because when you bring up race, with that Morgan Freeman shit, did they love to quote?
You know, I said, and it's probably get me in trouble, but I said to some of my colleagues recently, so I know that it's an issue, but it seems like every single day on television I'm talking about race, and it's because of the news cycle, it's in the news, but sometimes I get so tired of talking about it, I want to just go, this is over, can we move on?
And if you talk about it, it exists.
Right.
Yeah. It's not like it exists and we refuse to talk about it, but making it a bigger issue than it needs to be is the problem we have.
He said a lot of other things the other times he was on the show, but for some reason, they keep on repeating that, sort of like MLK's judge me by my character line, and they forget cut the check. They forget all the other shit he said because it's convenient to their narrative. The point is this. The reason why I say DI is not so great is because I know for a fact DI managers and directors all tend to be white folks. I've seen the numbers be from, well, non-black, okay? So if your whole purpose is to create equity for black employees, we know it's not. It's really about everybody else, really. They just use our blood, sweat, and tears. Us getting busted upside the head for 300 years. They just use that pain to help everybody else. But okay. I've seen studies that say from 2 to 7% of DEI managers and directors are black. Only 2 to 7%. And their whole job is to make people diverse. Their purpose is to come in and teach companies how to be more diverse. They can't even make themselves diverse. So wrap your head around that. So I know it's, I'm not going to say it's garbage because I actually had the experience. But see, that's how it is, guys. Things are not cut and dry. It's not just good and bad. Some things, there's some good and there's some bad, okay? Yes, they definitely need to work on inclusivity within their own damn rights, their own damn ranks, okay? They need to hire, they're not even diversifying when they hire people to teach diversity. That's like you go to a training about sexual harassment and the trainer harasses you sexually. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, right? You go to a Kung Fu instructor and you kick his ass accidentally. It's like, I thought you knew how to fight. It's that crazy. But the point is, Joe, this is really how things work. It's really how things work. It's not cut and dry. It's not all good and all bad. Anybody that tells you anything is all good and all bad, it's probably caping for that dollar. That's my experience. All right. So, hope somebody got something out of that. So at the end of the day, it ain't all, DEI probably won't save everyone. DEI probably won't solve all your problems. And if you work at a shit company, they won't hire black people, them being able to say they have a DEI system in place may keep them from getting sued. Okay? So there's a lot of reasons why they bring DEI in. It's to protect them from liability. It's to say, hey, we got the same reason they got an HR department to begin with. HR department's not really there to help you talk about your problems. It's there to keep the company from being sued from the way it interacts with its employees. It's totally a defensive mechanism by the corporation to protect its liabilities. That's all HR is, in a way to get rid of you legally without being sued once again. So DEI pretty much falls within the same realm. It's the same-ish. It sort of goes back to what I said earlier when I first started the show, and if you missed it, if you are delusional enough to actually believe that the policies of the United States military is actually there to help people, you are crazy. You are delusional. I hate to burst your bubble. We're not helping Ukraine because we love Ukraine. We're helping Ukraine because we don't like Russia. That's the only reason why. So this same thing happens. It applies everywhere. If you do this long enough, like I've been doing it long enough, you realize everything's the same. If you enjoyed that clip, you're going to enjoy the full show. Because the full show has more, because it's a full show. Check it out here. Click up here to get the full show. Don't forget to go to jointimblack.com. Become a member of the Tim Black VIP Club. I love y'all. I'll see you on the next one. Wolfpack.